this time. All right. Oh, look, we got it. Yay! The whole family's together. I can't believe it. Did you speed on your way home on a full tummy? There was Mahilo.
I'm trying to turn on my volume.
Okay, it's okay. You don't need to hear what I said. Mahilo, the question that we posed was, we have these proverbs here. Why do I give you guys these proverbs? And Elle here, our orphan family member that has now returned to the fold, why do we use this here? Why do I bring this to you? And Elle had said because they're useful, that has utility. I'm sorry, I think I'm paraphrasing that correctly. Why do you think I bring this to you guys? Can you hear me, Ms. Vahilo? I want to make sure your volume is good.
I heard like only the last part that you said.
Okay. Well, let me restructure that. What is this telling us to do right here? Can you read that okay?
The Nana Ike Kumu?
Yeah. Yes. What is that? What is that? For what does it say? What is that translation on it? Wow, look how big my marker when I go like that. What does it mean? Nana Ike Kumu. What's the translation for that? Catching you off guard, Miss Vahilo.
I know. I forget. Jeez, I just came.
Oh, really? I know. That's what happens. It's like, you know, and I'm sure Elle will tell you, you come late to Halal Hula, you're going to chant by yourself into the class. No. Somebody give me a translation of Nana Ike Kumu.
Look to the source.
What's the purpose of telling you this?
To be authentic.
To be, that's what you said in your reflection. And it does say, look to the source that we want to be. So, and our reference to this was right here. If we look to the source, we are trying our best to look down here. And you know the best way to look down here is to look here. Because all of these came from here. So if you could understand the content, what were they saying? Why they said stuff like this? Why would we say something like this? Why would we say this first one?
Because our word is our bond.
Our word is our bond, in a way, definitely. But why? Everywhere words are bonds.
Words have power.
Words do have power. And somebody had written in the reflection, words have mana. But why do we say it? Why is it a Hawaiian proverb? Because this does not necessarily exist in, we had said this before, an equivalent maybe said, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. No, this says words will kill you. What was the elemental part of this that said, oh, I see.
Native Hawaiians didn't believe in like written contracts.
It wasn't that they didn't believe in it. They didn't have
one.
Right? So because we don't have it, tells you a lot about what they were looking at, what they were experiencing. And so when we were trying to step through these ideas, I bring these because these speak clearly from here. But I know some of you had said, I'm not sure. I know it was Nainoa, and I believe Asa, you had pinged in on it as part of the commentary of last meeting. That we're not really sure, like you guys, it seemed Hawaiian was a little bit difficult to nail down. Like this, A means B, B means A. That kind of equivalence, which we often really have in English. But Hawaiian can be a little bit, kauna would be the word that we would use, that it might have some kauna to it, that there might be some subtle meanings that are not obvious, that are subtext or that are hidden meaning within words. But in these, we take them at their face primarily, and I introduce it to you because they come down here. And they too get forgotten. So I bring them because these to me are the most relevant, and there are more of them, and we'll enter into those other ones as we move forward. So so I like to throw up all my tools on the board so that as we move forward, we can reference them and keep tying these together. In the end, pretty much our our last class will look very similar to this. More stuff will be added, but everything will tie together. So the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about is, can you tell us about this, Elle?
There's 3 parts. Aina.
Okay.
Ohana and Hana.
Okay, I know this is a little repetitive for you guys, but there's a main reason in Hanna. Just to kind of get up to speed, and this whole thing sort of resembles this. What's the most important of the three, more or less? We were sort of saying you missed from the first class, but did you happen to remember from reading? You can call for a +1 or whatever they call it. You can ask somebody else. Who's going to help you?
Anyone willing to help me?
Okay, all right, let's see. Hey, Christina, since you're dead set, by the way, just out of curiosity, I don't know, is Christina in the middle of everybody's screen there? Wave hi, Christina.
No.
Is she in the middle? Oh, really? So I don't know who's where on your screen, but Christina's right in the middle. That's why I'm calling you. Well, of these three, which one did we have put an emphasis on?
If memory serves me right, Ohana.
Oh, everybody chose Ohana is probably their most important, right?
Yeah.
But what did we choose? I'm going to ask Wahilo since you came in last. I can pick on you just a little bit more.
Sure.
So of these three, we were making a determination of which one was most influential.
I want to say Aina.
Okay, we'll put a check mark next to Aina. Did everybody agree on Aina being the most influential?
Aren't they just all
I say
influential?
Hana.
I'm sorry?
I say Hana.
I say
Who said
Hana.
Hana.
Why did we say Hana?
Because it's the one you can control.
It's the only of the three that you have control over. So you can everybody derives some mana from their Hana. Everybody derives some mana from their Hana. But what you do, what your Hana is, in fact, I believe Nainoa had made some reference to this, or a cursory reference to this Hana complement. But it's the only thing that you can choose, which is basically establish what you may or may not see as your legacy. Now, the reason why I'm going over that, Miss L, is because what we would like you to do right here, I think I go like this, is can you tell us your two truths and a lie, L? Can you just go? Oh shoot! I'm sorry. I didn't get the right picture, but you can tell it to us. I think I remember them. I have the wrong picture of your PowerPoint PowerPoint.
I don't even know if I remember them.
Oh, can you see it? Is it on your screen? Do you guys see it on your?
It just says story.
Oh, I remember them. I remember what they're called. So the story one is. Miss
I've
L?
never broken a bone.
Okay. The other one is.
I can't roll my tongue.
Okay, and the last one was?
I don't remember the last one.
Oh,
now.
the last one says, I've never jumped off a cliff, or never jumped off, like what was the picture, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to go down the line. Everybody, which one is the lie? Starting with anybody. From the top, okay, Lydia.
I think story 3 is a lie.
Miss Bahilo, what do you think's a lie?
3.
Okay. Nainoa, which one do you think's a lie?
3.
Asa, which one's the lie?
The broken bone.
You think the broken bone? You're trying to be original, huh? Okay, Christina, which one's the lie, Christina?
I'm gonna go with 3. I'm pretty sure you jumped off the cliff before.
Okay, I'm gonna go with 3 for the very reason that if it were true, she would have remembered it. Which one's the lie?
The last one.
The number 3. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't remember.
So this is what we had done, but we had done for all of them, and I apologize. I didn't capture the screen correctly for you, but I had to do it differently. But then what we ended up doing was, let me see, how do I have to end this show like this, I think. And then let me take us, Miss L, can you tell us something about you? Let me get my screen back up again. Am I still sharing? I am.
Yes.
Oh, here it is. Let me unshare, just like this. Okay, Miss L, can you tell us something about you, your family, or just something about you, where you're from, and your Hana? Now you're right in the middle of my screen. And then what do you want your legacy to be?
I'm from Oahu. I grew up in Kalihi.
Oh, wow.
It's just me and my mom as my ohana and my dog. And
Very critical. That's key critical member of the family.
Right now I'm an EA
Mhm.
at a school in Wahiwa. It's called Kamalani Academy, but that's just because I want to focus on my master's program before I go into the regular classroom.
Okay. And what do you want your legacy to be?
A good one?
We hope so. What do you want to do in terms of education? You want to teach secondary? You want to?
Elementary for sure, like second grade, and then I actually want to work out either in Kalini or in Nanakuli side, like more where there's higher populations of Native Hawaiians and lower socioeconomic areas to just give back and try to like boost that morale over there.
Okay. And very quite plausible to be able to do that as a teacher. One huge classroom at a time. And what I found, at least from this perspective of teaching, I've had experiences in the classroom, probably maybe equal to some of your guys's. I haven't had a lot of time, but that my whole objective, like I was telling you guys before, is to hand you some of these things that you could use and become familiar with, and then use them to shape your kids, but also hopefully to pass the tools to the kids so that they can move forward using those tools and changing other people's and get that cascading effect. So the next thing I kind of want to jump back to is the very first reading. We talked about a lot of different things that I just want to review quickly so that we can bring ourselves. I'd like to catch us up on the reading, our discussions for the reading. And the first sort of idea, let me see, is going to be right here. So in that first reading, let me just kind of quickly go over some of the notes because I know you guys probably haven't seen it for a while. It was basically, she had the things that I kind of pulled together from the reading was she said something very interesting from the in the beginning of the reading of this book. She said that we don't learn new tools, we remember them, which is one of the reasons I want you guys to sort of become try to get these inside of you. Once they're inside of you, you'll be more available to use them at a moment's notice if they're useful. She also said that there's going to be a proverb we'll eventually cover today, that some of the things that she had also mentioned this one in the first reading, the Oi Pau, we're going to learn from many sources, and that we also want to take culture and incorporate it into the classroom. Now, some of the things that there was a list of 10 items, and I'll just probably quickly just say them, that where she had said that we want to get rid of that belief that people think they're inferior. Many of your students can be very insecure. Some of them have not a lot of confidence. Some of them have confidence. But first thing we want to do is empower our kids. She also said find out why, you'll probably remember where she said this, find out why we love the ocean, but we seldom go to the ocean. Well, I'm not a big ocean guy, I'm a mountain guy, and I seldom get to go to the mountain, but when I do, I'm totally at home. She also said to remember your favorite teacher, learn from the land. She repeats that, understand that words have mana. Words have mana, right up here. Question and believe what education can do. I do it every day. Can I make the change I need people to sort of find in themselves and bring it forward? Use extreme rigor. I remember Nainoa mentioned that was one of the top things that he said, and understand the idea of epistemology. Do we know what epistemology is? Does anybody have just an off-the-cuff definition of epistemology? Oh, I don't see a lot going there. I see somebody typing to dictionary.com. Epistemology versus pedagogy. I have a more off the cuff than a dictionary version. Does anybody know what either of these two terms mean? Give me a winged version, anything? Pedagogy, that's probably a little more common. What is pedagogy?
The method of teaching.
It's a method. This is the teaching side. This is the method of how you're trying to teach a subject versus epistemology, which is what? What's the
theory?
No, it's a theory that you practice, or it's a theory that is practiced. But if pedagogy is teaching, what's epistemology? Versus pedagogy is teaching, epistemology
The
must
theory
be
of knowledge.
knowledge and learning. So this is how we teach. This is how we learn, or how your students learn. And oftentimes what we have is a disconnect. Just because I teach algebra doesn't mean my students learn algebra. The idea is to meet the students where they learn. And one of the main things that we were discussing, I'm going to just kind of go down the list and bring up the comments that some of you had said. I know that we discussed it a little with Nainoa. You had mentioned in these ideas of bringing culture into the lesson, there must be a discipline of mind, and we discussed how that will affect the way you do. As long as we try to maintain academic rigor and be disciplined about what we do. We did discuss this. We could probably move past this. Words are powerful. That's what Elle had said, which we'd already. Let me try the reading that we didn't quite go. So this whole idea that we had, and we're trying to say what was possible in the class and what we need to do. Then she went into this whole storytelling, basically comes from this idea that, okay, the missionaries come. There's one thing that's interesting to note. I teach a class here at Chaminade, and it's Hawaiian religion. Does anybody know what this word means? Just out of offhand. This word.
What does that say?
But do I want me to write it a little bigger? Try writing it bigger.
It's kind of blurry.
Okay, I'll write it bigger. Hopefully it'll be less blurry. What does this word mean?
Healing.
Cool. You could sort of say that. This word is the Hawaiian word for religion. Now the question is, just as we do with the Olelo no Iao, is there any words in here that you recognize?
Pule.
What does it mean?
Prayer.
It means prayer. So what you'll come to find is, what does this word mean is what's important. This word means this.
High prayer.
So what does that say about this word? It's a Hawaiianization of this thought. I mean, it's an English word said in Hawaiian. And so if we take an English word and make it the Hawaiian word, what does that say about this word or this idea?
Not original.
But
It's not original. Why wouldn't there be an original word?
The religion was introduced to the Hawaiians.
Oh, well, no, they had religion.
No, they had a religion, but their idea of religion was changed with the introduction of missionaries.
That's what I meant.
Well, okay, I understand that. But prior to the missionaries coming, why wouldn't they have a word for religion?
Because it was like their everyday practice, I guess.
Because it's. Can you explain that?
I can try. I guess so Native Hawaiians had like a god for everything. So they had from every aspect of their life, they prayed to a certain god for protection in war, harvest. They prayed for everything, I guess. And then when missionaries came,
even before that, where this is not to do with the missionaries, but in every aspect of their life, if it is that important, why wouldn't you have the word for it?
There's no relevance to have words.
It's just your actions, yeah.
There was no need to put it into wording.
And so in 8 years that I've taught this, nobody has ever said that. And that's exactly what it is. It's so everywhere that you don't have a word for it. It's everywhere. It's the same thing if you could talk to a fish and say, what's your word for wet? Everything is wet. When everything is everything, you don't have words. Everybody has air right in front of their face. We don't have a word for it because everybody has it. We don't need it. It's there. the English word for this every aspect is it's ubiquitous. When something is ubiquitous, we don't typically have a word for it. But we know that by just looking at the word. The religion was so everywhere that there was no word. There was no need for a word. It was everything. Religion was everything. Now, the question becomes this. For a lot of number of reasons, and not particularly the purpose of this class, somebody had done a lesson. You mentioned that you did the mana circle and you wanted to compare Kamehameha the first and second. Who was the one that did that lesson?
We did.
You did? So
Yeah.
The interesting thing is this. Who had more mana between Kamehameha the first and Kamehameha the second?
My students said Kamehameha the first had more mana.
What would Kamehameha the first say?
Well, of course he would say he has the most mana.
No. He recognized, Kamehameha recognized that he was a king, but his children were gods. Kamehameha the second, in Kamehameha's eyes, was a god. And he referred to himself, I am but your caretaker. I'm your father, Leo. But he recognized himself as being the caretaker of this god. All his three children were gods, solely because of the rank that he held with the super high rank of his wife, Keopuolani. Between the two of them, because it's uncle and niece, their children will be born literally what they perceive as gods. So Leo the first, Leo, and then Kamehameha the third, and Nahi and Anna the daughter. All of them were gods. So the trip was this: when after Kamehameha passed, the Kuhina, literally what we would call the prime minister, was Ka'ahumandu, the highest ranking chiefess, who was wait, can somebody mute, please? I got an echo going. Okay, so Ka'ahumandu was she was the prime minister. Literally, Kamehameha said that when I pass, you will become prime minister. Liho, my son, will be king. And Keopuolani was the highest ranking Ali'i anywhere to be found. So these two women talk Liho, let's get rid of the kapu system. The kapu system was the whole set of rules by which they maintained their mana. Through birthright, through genealogy, through worship, everything was based in the kapu system. So when they said we're going to overturn the kapu system, what do you lose? What's going to happen?
Get a new kapu system.
What's going to happen is you're going to lose something that's everywhere. Everything will disappear when you overturn the kapu system. That's what happened. You break the very kapu, that eating kapu, that's what they did. Liho was pretty young. The chiefess Keopuolani was very high. Ka'ahumandu was extremely powerful. And they were all present. They broke the kapu, which meant the kapu was gone. Huge vacuum. Everything was religion. So much so there's no word for it. That's a lot of religion. It's gone. Who shows up?
Missionaries.
Missionaries show up. Now, there's a couple things. The reason why I sort of tell this way is because it isn't always the greatest, best. We already know the story doesn't end quite as well as we'd like. Between us, we could say it's all effed up. It was kind of lousy. Not that the missionaries came, but how things got all complicated, how everything got all tied in knots, how things didn't really pan out in the best interest for the native populations. But when you talk to your students, we have to be careful. Because when you dump just this sort of devastation, this decimation, it's even worse than decimation. We're not here to saddle our students with this incredible decimation of native culture without something to lift them. So particularly this story, so she talks about the missionaries come. So let me take up some of your guys' comment because I'm not particularly here. Vahilo, the thing that you mentioned that I appreciated was you always spoke on the two sides of it. You said the missionaries did some things right and some things wrong. That's cool. You always give that option, at least to your students. Some things they did were good. Some things they did were bad. Manu lays it down pretty heavy. And I know you spoke my words when you started your commentary, where you said there was a lot of remorse for what had happened. Well, not remorse, because it wasn't particularly personally our problem, but a lot of empathy for what was going down from that experience. And that many of the indigenous peoples were taken advantage of. But the reason why that religion grabbed so tight, so hard, so fast is because the vacuum that was left. And that vacuum was not created by the missionary. That vacuum was created by the very people themselves, by the chief, by the chiefess, the king. So now we have this vacuum. Missionaries come. They're all good. They're all good to listen to another system. They are religious by their very lifestyle, but their very gods that walk the earth said, no more kapu system. So they took that in.
Question, sorry.
Yes, sir, please.
You was breaking up a little bit. So did the kapu system get removed before the missionaries came? Is that
yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. I mean, the vacuum was created, and then the missionaries, the timing was superb. Absolutely superb for the missionaries. A lot of people put some heavy weight on those missionaries. But let's think for a moment. How many of you would be willing to not quite the equivalent, would be willing to go to Africa, to leave your family behind, go to Africa, which will take at least a month to get there, and bring your immediate family with you because you're going to be gone for so long. Is anybody here willing to do that? That's why not? Why wouldn't you? So the people that did it, in a way, in some regard, and I'm not here to support or deny or anything, those people were committed. They were committed to sacrifice to come bring the word, their word, right? Their Christian word, their Bible, they were going to bring it. You got to give them credit. I wouldn't have done it. I would have been very comfortable wherever they came from. If I was there, I'd say, oh, somebody else can go. Leave everything they've ever known and go to a place that they don't even speak the language. You're going to be dropped right in the middle of a place, and now you got to figure it out. You have to be moved at a level that most people don't get moved by. You have to be motivated and committed at a level that you don't typically see. I had a friend of mine who was a Mormon missionary. You guys know, anybody know any Mormon missionaries or did a Mormon mission? So they have the Mormon Missionary School of Language. I think it's called something like that. So the prophet of the church or the apostles or whatever are going to say, if you're a Mormon and you want to go on a mission, you have to raise all your own money, and they're going to tell you where you're going to do your mission. You could say, I'd like to do it here or there. If you're native, if you have a fluency in another language, they'll likely take advantage and send you to a place that you're fluent with. But you're going to go to that Mormon missionary school for language and learn that language. Not only learn that language, whether it be Samoan or like Japanese or Korean, you're going to learn that language so well, you're going to go to that place, and you're going to change their religion. And the FBI came in and says, hey, how is it that you guys do that? How is it that in 2 months, you're going to teach somebody a language that they didn't know, and they know it so well that when they go to that country, they're going to change their religion. How do you do it? Show us how to do it. And you can't. It's got to be the commitment by the people that make it happen. Or whether it be a spiritual force or a belief or a faith system that makes you learn a language in 2 months that you'll change people's religions for it. So here we have these missionaries come. And then so some of the ideas you guys had, they came, they kind of got established. Also, you use that word decimation. After the missionaries came, there were foreigners that were present, not missionaries. There were foreigners that brought lots of diseases. Do you know what the word decimation comes from?
You said.
Is it like 10, like decade?
Yeah, it's absolutely. This is when Caesar, or in the times of the Roman, when they were going across, if a unit messed up, every 10th person would be killed. Every 10th person. You guys messed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, dead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, dead. 1, 2, 3. That's what a decimation is. What happened to the Hawaiian people was the reverse. 9 people will die, 1 will live. 9 people will die. So when you use that word decimation, it was 10 times a decimation. 99 out of every 100 people died. These are very tragic experiences that affected all of culture. I'll probably bring some different kinds of stories. But you had mentioned that that was interesting, that when they came and they brought their religion, there was such a hunger for it. But how are you, if we were all missionaries, how are we going to go and teach the gospel in another place? How are we going to do that? What's the first thing we have to do? What if we were the missionaries and came here? What's the first thing we need to do?
Learn the language.
We definitely have to learn the language. Then
interact with the people.
You're going to do it anyway, but now that you can interact. But that's you teaching one person or a small group of people. What's the next step you guys want to do? Elle, what's the next step? Or anybody?
Oh, I want to talk to the person in charge.
Yeah, they did. They were pretty mesmerized by these. And they were the ones, those people in charge were the ones writing letters. Please send more missionaries. Send more people. What is it that they did that was profound after that?
Made a language.
They learned the language. They learned the mission. We as missionaries to say, we went after sacrificing everything we knew. We went to Hawaii. We settled. We learned their language, and then
we converted them.
We converted some of them. Can understand. What's the fastest way to convert them? Even though they're already super converting.
Teach them English.
That takes a long time. It'd be easier the time you try to take them to learn English. I'll learn, because I'm a super Mormon, let's say. I'll learn that Hawaiian language fast, and I'll convert them in their own language. But how do you multiply that bread, if you want to use that biblical term? How do we get the biggest bang for our buck? What's the next?
You baptize the head chief, and you convince them that they'll be saved from whatever was happening, whatever was ailing them.
That's what many of them thought. Our gods, even though we remember them, and some of us still pray to them, we're still dying off at 10 times the decimation. But how do you spread the word fastest? What's the fastest way to spread that word? Come on.
By talking, by spreading, I don't know.
How do we spread the word today?
They come to your house.
They come to your house, and then what do they do before they leave?
They go like a paper.
They converted Hawaiian into a written language. It wasn't written before. Now it's written. It was never written before. They learned the language. I will convert you maybe, but like you 6 in front of me, I'll convert you guys, and okay, so what? But if I can put it in writing, I'll hand you that book, and you can go read the book to all of your friends on your island. You can preach the truth to where you go if I can get it in writing. But then I got it in writing. So I have to learn the language so well, I will put it in writing. And then I will print it up and pass it to you. But before I give it to you, I have to teach you to read. And that was like teaching them magic. They never have seen this action before. They have never seen reading. It was like if we were all magicians and we could pull rabbits out of hats and then teach everyone. They thought it was almost magical, that you can look at something on the paper and convert it to a language. But because the missionaries did that, they made a language that was 100% phonetic. And we can read it today. It was 100% phonetic. No silent letters. Normal diphthongs weren't, everybody knew where the diphthongs were anyway in Hawaiian. But it was completely phonetic. When it's completely phonetic and you can look at it and know what that sound is going to be, what happens to literacy?
Goes up.
It not only goes up, it's absolutely impossible not to learn how to read. The problem with English is there's so many weird rules. I before E except after C is sounded as A as a neighboring way. All these little rules we got to know just to read correctly. So the difficulty we had when everybody says, and even Manu says, there was 100, nearing 100%, the best literacy rate of all the modern nations of the world were here. Well, that's because the language was custom designed. The written language was custom designed for Hawaiians. What do we have today? The literacy is terrible. Not terrible. The literacy is not nearly 100%. But that's because we're teaching English. We're teaching English. So it isn't anything that Hawaiians are any dumber or anything. It's just we're teaching them a language that is never easy to learn. It was never easy to learn. Okay, the main, let's see, let me go over some of the things. Oh, Asa, you were the one who mentioned it was difficult to read. Missionaries. Oh, the big strange thing was when talking about the good and the, where we do that, the good. Oh yeah, with Vahilo, she was saying right and wrong, good and bad. That was really unusual. A lot of people came here feeling a little righteous. So in order for me, there's a couple things. There's people that will proselytize. They'll go out and they will pass their religion along because it is such good news. But when you come over thinking these are heathens and pagans and savages, then automatically you're bumping them down with a lot of the problems we have, where they felt that they were divinely anointed and you guys were just and the natives were basically destined for hell. We're saving them from the fires of hell. So when you get that, then you're treating them, your perception of who they were became something that was ingrained in the everyday tip of the iceberg, or they thought that Hawaiians were basically dumb or lazy, or all of these misperceptions came through. Of course, there are lazy Hawaiians. Of course, there are industrious Hawaiians. But they just basically stereotype. There's a lot currently now going on television itself, generalizing, pigeonholing, stereotyping, stigmatizing. It still happens today. It's almost like a human nature thing. Let's see. Elle, you had mentioned something that let me see. Let me go over a couple of things, and we'll move on past that last reading. Maybe we'll go right to our next reading. Missionaries. There was a suppression of knowledge by the missionaries. Why would they suppress the knowledge that the Hawaiians already had?
Because they wanted them to think the way that they were thinking.
Yeah, they did, and it was converse. If I'm thinking that there's one God and this is what it looks like, and you think you still have some residual feelings like there are hundreds of thousands of them out there, that everything is an embodiment of some divine spirit, then I have to have you put everything aside. You have to put everything aside in order to move forward with my teaching of the gospel, as they would have said. Let me see. I wanted to see. So the interesting thing is this: as we move forward, if we ever wanted to get together and create a little hui, go find a little island in the Pacific. We want to find a little island in the Pacific, and we want to take it over. What's the first thing we'll want to do? Miss Fahilo, what's the first thing we want to do? We all jump in a boat. We're going to take over an island. What's the first thing we're going to do?
Well, we would want to be prepared on like what we're going to tell the people.
We're going to make a good plan, you bet, and what we're going to say to them. Yeah. Action-wise, what's the first thing? We're doing this covertly. They don't know. We're really going to try to throw the entire system off. What is the first thing we're going to attack?
Their government or their system.
Their system?
The hierarchy system.
We're going to try to get into that system. And once we garner a little bit of power, what's the first devastating act we're going to do? What's the first thing
Change
we
their
want?
beliefs.
Oh, we could try. It's difficult to change people's beliefs. Because the Kapu system done, it was easy to change their belief. But usually people will adopt, they can even adopt multiple systems of beliefs. In the same way that how you sort of act and behave, talk and think in church may be a little different than how you act, talk, believe outside of church, oftentimes. But if we're going to go there and we want to really attack them, where do we attack?
The most
At the
powerful
top.
person.
Yeah, the top.
Well, I mean, we're in this power structure. Okay, we've knocked a lot of the powerful people. Now we put ourselves in that position. Well, how are we going to knock the manna out of the population?
I would scare them.
Could, but we have to do something really specific. Of all the manna that exists on this board, what manna are we going to attack first?
The Ohana.
Separate families.
If you attack Ohana, if you attack my Ohana, you're not making friends of me. That's for certain. It's got to be a little more covert. You're right. That would really get somebody, but you will get them to come back at you. This is a little more covert. Where are we going to attack?
Take their land.
Little tricky. I would say that. We would take that. But of this, what are we going to take?
Change their way of life.
That's difficult because that's part of their culture. If we
Take away rights.
We can pass what right? The right. It was just on the news recently too.
Take away their language.
If you attack their language, these specific cultures, all of them are non-written. It is the most immense, broad spectrum of power you have taken from them. But you can't, it's difficult to take people's language. Where do you attack? You're going to take their language. How do you do that? How do you take a culture's language?
Forcing them to speak your language.
Who are you forcing?
The
Yes.
people.
Yeah, you're forcing the people. What people are we going to force?
Civilians.
Everybody, but specific. Where are we going to get the biggest bang? We're going to attack who?
Children.
You're going to hit the children.
Oh, unreal. Wow.
You're going to get it. We're in power. We set up the schools. We're going to now, the missionaries did everything in Hawaiian. But then once they established these schools, they realized if we want power, we are going to take it away and put our language, our power into position. But we're going to do it with the kids.
Oh, wow.
And how many generations will it take you, that island we go to, how many generations will it take to wipe it out? To wipe out their language?
3, 2 or 3.
2. My mom never spoke Hawaiian.
Wow. Yeah.
My mom never spoke Hawaiian. Her mother and father did, and everybody before them did. It only takes 2. But you also, as part of the business, you got to say the American way is the best way. That's what my mom was told. English. No pidgin, not even pidgin. English. And so that in one generation, that shift across this line here. That shift, I remember so I'm the new guy on the block. I learned about how the sugarcane barons really pushed their business market plans, and it really took control of the water resources. So when my mom flew back to Hawaii for family reunion, and we're driving across Maui, and I said, man, that sugarcane was lousy to Hawaiians. Oh, my mom turned. She gave me this huge stink eye. Sugar was good because it employed all of our families. They just didn't really know. So they were, but 2 generations above my mom, sugar wasn't necessary. Wasn't necessary. But if you're going to take a language, so if you're going to bring it back at the schools, and that's where the whole Punana Leo, Kulakau Puni kicked in. Okay, so the interesting thing, I think we covered most of some of your guys' ideas. What I wanted you to know that it was a very altruistic, I think, approach. Some missionaries, as Vahilo was saying, were not so good. Some were really good. They had true heart. They did do one thing that's residual. They took all our language and translated the Bible. That Bible is a wealth of Hawaiian grammar, diction. It's a fantastic document to study Hawaiian by because it's very abstract, sophisticated thought. So what I'd like to do right now is we're going to take a couple steps back. Let me try to share this window right here. Oops, I'm unstable. I'm this one right here. Can you guys see that? If I do this, is that better? Let me see. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about this because this is probably one of the more important things we did. You guys remember this assignment?
Yes.
Okay. What I'd like to do is just kind of quickly, just sort of read it. I'm going to ask you guys questions about it, and we're going to work this kid up. By the way, could somebody just read the very top lines there? Anybody?
A young Hawaiian adolescent.
Oh, I'm
Wait,
sorry.
the top?
Above that. Oh, yeah, above that.
Oh, aloha mai cultural combatants. Reflect on the scenario of a former student of mine and provide an analysis of his situation, relevant risk factors, and then some insightful cultural wisdoms that would help him to find a more positive outcome.
Okay. So what I would like is let's work this kid up. Really, I think I go like this. Okay. How do I make that go away? Oh, I need to, how do I make that stop? Okay, like this. Excuse me. Okay, let me go like this. If you guys, we're gonna look for risk factors. What I wanna do is basically go right about, okay. Tell me about this kid. Hey Mike, can you see me a little? Maybe I'll turn this just a little bit up. Tell me about this kid.
Negative self-image.
Okay, first thing, 14 years old.
Oh, okay.
Next thing, he's a male. Next thing, just a very generic stuff. A 14-year-old male Hawaiian child. Okay, the one thing, let me pull this up right here. Let me go this way. I'm sorry, taking me a bit of time. Okay, tell me about him. Once again, in medicine, we call that a chief complaint. CC means chief complaint. The things that he complains about.
Low socioeconomic status.
That is what you are making an assessment. So low socioeconomic status. Low SES. I got you on that one. What does he say? What is his problems as he perceives them?
He doesn't have brand name things.
He doesn't have friends, and he doesn't have things. He doesn't have things. Okay, we got that. What else? Tell me something more about him.
Negative self-image. Sorry.
No.
Oh, once again, these are assessments. We can put that over here. We'll call that sort of subjective. So he definitely, I'd say, he has a negative self-image. He doesn't think there's a lot of that kind of stuff going. What does he say?
That his ohana is bust up.
Yep. That he has domestic, or his family is junk or whatever. What other thing does he say?
House is ghetto.
His house is ghetto. Typically, when you write this up in medicine, you literally use the words that your house is ghetto. Any other things? Let me see if I could pull up. I want to take a look and see if I could read it directly. Right here. Nope, right here. Okay. Young Hawaiian adolescent seen by himself. He appears to be lonely amongst a group of other kids. When you inquire as to his first week of school, he's in his first week of school. Okay? We're just going to get all the facts down, and I want you guys to tell me about him. I stay on small kind. Same. You're asking him how he's doing. Everything's about the same. Things aren't looking so good, so he's having some negative, what we talked about here, not only negative self-image, but he has a negative perspective. He doesn't have any more friends. I don't get the good shoes. So no one like talked to me. My family, we talked about, house is junk. Okay. So there we are. For real, going to be solid. He doesn't think our house stay all ghetto and that's going to be me. He thinks, you guys mentioned some really good stuff about that's going to be me too. He's never going to be solid, and that's why, and that's all. Okay, my first question is this. What do we think when we see this kid? What's the first thing you think? I know a lot of you already said low self-image, first week of school. What could be some of his, any other things? I'll just get it from that. What else you guys think? Sorry?
He's negative.
Yeah, definitely negative. He's got kind of a negative perception of things. Let's just take that. What could be his problem?
He's just trying to fit in.
He's trying to fit in, so he might have an adjustment. He might have an adjustment disorder. Why would we think he has an adjustment disorder?
Because he doesn't have friends.
He doesn't have friends. It's his first week of school.
Oh.
He's never been to the school before. He's having an adjustment problem. What else could be a problem?
How he was raised.
Well, we know his domestics look pretty jacked up. So yes, we could probably assume that. And in those domestic issues, we're going to have difficulties with adjustments too. What other things could happen? You see this kid, he looks jacked, he's sad, he has low self-image. What's the first thing that should come to your mind? One of the first things. Doesn't have to be the first things.
Lack of attention.
I'm sorry?
Lack of attention.
Yeah, maybe not getting attention. And that's a cool thing. But in medicine, what the first thing we look at the life-threatening issues first, even though they're unlikely. We have to rule them out. At his age, what are the life-threatening issues he could be faced with?
Suicide.
He could be, because he has
Depression.
He might have major depressive disorder. I know you guys aren't doctors, but at the same time, you need to see this kid could be depressed. He could be suicidal. So we need to just think about that because he's alone. He's already got all these negative images. What would be causing this depression or this suicidality? What would make him be depressed? New kid in the school?
No one to talk about his problems.
No, so he doesn't have socialization, or he's not socializing well. But that could be a minor. What's happening in schools that kids are committing suicide over?
Bullies.
Bully. He could be bullied. He's a new kid. He's not wearing the cool clothes. He could be bullied. That will drive you. What's another thing that drives kids into depression? What do kids do in school all the time?
Socialize.
Yeah, that's true. But those socialize is usually a positive thing, and that's a great response. I'm just looking at what's driving this kid down.
Just being, I guess, I don't know. Maybe he's not getting good grades.
Maybe. Well, he's kind of new to the school, but you're right. He could have a learning disorder. So he already in class might appear to be not quite up to speed. These are things we need to think about. We're the first line. We're the ones looking at this kid on the playground. What is another thing that could be causing these issues? What is that noise? Another thing that could be causing it, besides bullying, is drugs. This kid could be chronic because his parents are chronic, right? So there's another thing. He might be antisocial. That's why he's not socializing. Not that I expect you guys. There's oppositional defiant. That was another one. He's not really being oppositional. But these are just ideas. But at some point in time, you want to look at it and say, I think this kid might need to move in a little closer, like many of you said. But you need to think about it from all angles before we move in on the personal angle. Hey, bro, I've been there. I know it. A lot of you guys went there. but the risk factors will tell you how best to approach, right? So in this particular case, then, so how do we deal with all this? By the way, drug use is really big with learning disorders. That's how they cope. You have a learning disorder, they'll just get stoned. They don't even have to deal with it, right? They're getting bullied. That always affects your learning when you're in class, when you're not in a safe environment. But so how are we going to make a difference in this kid? Let me see if I could, because of that, a lot of you already got it. He has a low self-image, low perception, low confidence, likely. He's definitely coming from a low socioeconomic status. Let's see what you guys are saying. Let's take a look at some of your guys' responses. Right here. Nainoa, I don't know why, you're just on the top of my list, but you said the one thing that I think is super cool, and that was, what did you remember what you said right off the bat?
Not verbatim. I forget.
You said this, take a step back.
Oh, no, yeah.
That's super important, because when you go in and you say, oh, low self-image, I'll improve his self-image, you're diving in already. Take a step back and look at the whole kind of picture of who this kid is. It's you guys are the ones that are going to catch it. You guys are going to prevent that suicide, if it is suicide, right? The kid just might not be adjusting very well. His parents are all jacked up. This bullying might occur at home. He might have domestic abuse, sexual abuse. There's a lot of things that could come into the picture, but if you dive into a solution, then you're going to have a difficulty backing out and seeing the big picture. So I know I had mentioned, just take a step back and listen. And that's what Mundu Meyer had said from the very beginning. We need to start listening to one another. In the classroom, listen to your kids. That's going to make the biggest difference. He's probably not listened to very much. Take a step back and listen. Vahilo, you said, do you remember some of your ideas that you had said?
Yeah, I would just encourage him to like get involved in sports or like.
Absolutely. So this kid feels pretty much disempowered. So how do we empower him? What do we say to this kid? Let me see. Elle, you said something super cool. You had said one of his difficulties is you see the present as your future. Wow, that was like, is that in the reading? That was a super cool line. He sees his present as that's going to be his future, but it doesn't have to be. But what is it? And one of you had said, that was awesome. Now I'm remembering. Let me see, do I have that? Did you? Oh no, you said hey Maia. Awesome. You said, hey, let me talk to him about this. Hey Maia. Let's all come together. Which come together are you talking about?
Just to reach out, not take on the problems by himself, to look for support.
What is one of the things this kid is lacking that he probably needs? A lot of things, obviously, but in your what's he?
Some kind of support, somebody to lean on, or
right. Who's the primary person in most kids' lives that is their support system?
Their parents.
Their parents or their families. Your classrooms are, for me, whenever I have a classroom, I make it very clear we're a family. I don't even know what kind of family they have at home, but for somebody that doesn't have it at home, we are the family. We are the family. I will listen. I will respect. I will be that Maia. But you just let them know, brah, we're a family in this place. You let those kids, some of them it will be their only family. Not many of them, some of them it will be. But if it's because they need a family, they will gravitate and use the classroom as a family. But when you said that, I definitely enjoyed that. And Christina, you were the one who mentioned, why did you mention that?
I mean, I said it in English. I mean, I had a hard time answering this question. I don't know why, but
really quick. I'm sorry. What kind of time did you have answering this question?
I had a hard time answering this question.
I'm just going to write that right there. I'll come back to it. You had a hard time. I agree. It was not an easy problem. But why did you go? What was it that you had said that drew you to Ohe Pauka Ike?
I mean, I turned it over to my students. I made them give him advice. Because a lot of them, like both Asa and I, we sort of share the same students, but a lot of them, they do have like similar experiences. So I wanted to know, like, what would they do? How would they help this kid power through? Had a lot of really good responses, but the 2 responses that I put up were the most striking.
You shared the story with the kids?
Yeah, I did put up
Wow.
put up on the board.
I didn't know. I thought you heard these stories from your students about other people, but that is super. That's peers. They trust their peers. Adults, they can't trust. You have, as an adult, a much sort of elevated status, but also an elevated responsibility to see it. Many of you, including Nainoa, firsthand experience you can share. Absolutely is cool. Who else had a first-hand experience? Asa, you had some first-hand experience. Elle, you had some first-hand experience that you're going to share. And Christina, you had first-hand experiences of the students to share. All of that is cool. But there's one thing that when you're trying to, everybody's saying, hey, we had problems, we got through it. What is, this will make you strong, just find your support. Everybody wants to talk to this kid, but we need to hand this kid one tool to recover by. And what tool are we going to hand this kid? Lydia.
Empowerment.
How? You were the only one.
Oh, the Hana?
The Honda of what?
Our Mana Circle.
The Mana Circle. Why? Because, yeah, you live in the ghetto. I get it. Yeah, your family's all jacked up. But what's important is what you are going to do, my friend. Or somebody said, hey, buddy. Who was it that said, hey, buddy? When I wrote, I thought it was cool. Oh, Asa. Hey, buddy. Which is super cool. I tend to, with my students, I tend to address them as Mr. or Mrs. Just to say, just to let them know I'm going to treat you with respect, because they might not get that. They get buddy all the time, which is cool, but I will call them, especially in a time of need. And sometimes I'll refer to them at elevated levels just to say, I see you as somebody that's high. They might not get it. But this is that one thing. I had a kid, I had to do a psych screening on a 17-year-old kid. He was at Olamana, incarcerated. And so I went to him and I said, what's the first question we want to ask him, guys?
How's it going?
How's it going? Yeah, that's a generic kind of question, sure. What's the first question? Hey, what's your name? Yeah. So I'm so-and-so. We got that. What's the first relevant question we're going to ask him?
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
But in this particular case, I'm just going to ask, why are you here?
Here for?
Oh,
Yeah, right? Why are you here? And so his answer is, I was selling dope. That's not uncommon. I'm not at all surprised. Look like a healthy 17-year-old kid selling dope. He's incarcerated. Next question, what do we ask him?
How long you here for?
Nope. I mean, you can. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say nope. That turns into a discussion of, oh, well, I don't know, my attorneys are, we're looking for these pinpoint questions.
How did you start?
What do you mean? How'd you start selling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
Or why do you sell is another one. But why would he sell? Why would he sell dope?
Financial support.
Money.
2 reasons. One, obviously to make money.
Status.
Maybe if you have a lot of money, you're going to get status. It actually comes off of money. What is he going to use that money for? Status, or
For his family? I don't know.
maybe just to support. He's only going to use that money for two things.
Buy more
What is it?
I said to buy more drugs, but I was just
To buy more drugs. That's
Oh.
it. He's either going to use it to buy more drugs or he's going to use it for other things. So my second question was, do you use drugs? Because that's a different character. And he said, no. What's your next question, you think? What would be anybody's next question? My next question was, I asked, how much do you make? Because if he's not using dope and selling dope, he says, I make about $1,000 a day. So what do you tell this kid? He made $1,000 a day. Do you tell him, hey, don't do that. Stop. Go work at McDonald's. Make $80 a day if you're lucky. What do you tell this kid? I say this. Pulled out a piece of paper. I drew this. I said, I go through it in the same way I went through it with you guys. And I say, you, my friend, are a businessman. You are an excellent. That is your Hanna. But when you sell dope, you are killing communities and families. And you will answer to that. However, if you want to do something legal and legit, I guarantee you $1,000 will be small. A business head like that, 17-year-old selling dope but not using dope, that's a businessman. He already knows things most people don't. You put him in a business school. That's the only thing I could think to say to him. To say, I have confidence in your manna, but your manna that you're doing right now is killing people. That's a big thing to answer to at some point in time. Enough already. Use your manna to create that legacy. That's how I empower. By having confidence in their manna. This kid, same thing. Hey, bro, I know it. I get it. I see it. I've done it. Many of you, I would tell the story. I've been there. But in the end, your Hanna will define your legacy. Not your parents. Not your ghetto house. This is empowerment. In fact, the one thing that this does is it takes victimhood and leaves it up to you. If you want to be a victim, it's all good. If you want to just take care of your own Hanna and do your own legacy, that's different. But if you want to say, I'm blaming my family, I'm blaming my place, then you can just live in it. You can live in victimhood. This is a non-victimhood, empowering sort of idea. But basically, before you get there with this particular kid, you want to make sure he's safe. He's safe in us's classroom because that's I'll have students who have Ike of the same thing, maybe speak to him. I'm impressed with that idea that you had your students look at that. I've seen that happen before where teachers have said, here's a letter from a depressed person. What would you say to that person? That is chicken skin already. I've never had anybody do that with this story, but it reminded me when suicide teenagers wrote letters and they showed it to their students and have the students respond. And then it really brings the relevance right down to the students. Let's see, there's a couple things I wanted to do. I hate to force it this way. Anybody have any questions? There's a Olelo no Iao I want us to go over because it was relevant to the reading. Let me see this. Let's a little bit talk about, let's do the Olelo no Iao because I want to push this Olelo no Iao out there. I'm gonna do a couple things first. We'll try to push this Olelo no Iao. I'm gonna give you guys another Olelo no Iao, and then We'll do it on this side of the board. Because many of you spoke about this. Can you read that okay? Here it comes. If you can, anybody see any words that they recognize?
Maka.
Oh, good job. Wait, oh, I'm going to go down a little bit here. What is Maka?
I.
Maka means eye, absolutely. Any other words we know? Somebody else. These mean eyes.
Nana.
What is Nana?
Look.
To look. Got it. Any other words we know?
The.
Ka, all the way. There's a the. There's a the.
Pepeao.
What is Pepeao?
Ear.
Ear.
Waha.
What is Waha?
Mouth.
Mouth. Oh, somebody's got it. We're not on the dictionary.com, are we?
No.
Okay, good, good. It helps me to understand where people are at. Any other words we want to look up?
Ho'olohe,
What is that?
to listen.
To
To
listen.
listen. And what I want to show you guys, at least in Hawaiian language, here's a big tool. What is this right here? This word right here, I'm going to double underline it, means to hear. What does this do? L. What does this do, L? Remember?
No.
This right here, ho'o. I'll give you an example. What does this word mean?
Die.
Dead. Make means dead. This word in front of it, what does ho'omake mean? It means kill, to make dead. So this word here,
To listen.
to listen. That's where it comes from. I know it seems like, wow, that's kind of disconnected, but it will come up again and again. This term, ho'olohe. So you want to say, what does nani mean? Nani means what? Pretty or beautiful? Ho'o nani?
Make beautiful.
To beautify. This ho'o, in many words, you can just throw it in the front. And in our reading in this last week, this word, this sort of prefix came up a lot. Any other words we need to know here?
Waha. Oh, no,
Ba,
sorry.
we said was mouth.
Wow.
What does this mean?
Don't.
My means don't.
What does that say? Pa?
Pa'a.
To make strong.
Or what does it mean here?
Rooted.
Rooted, solid, hard. This means to shut. It means to shut. Let me keep it in black though. Okay, and we got one more this means to lock it down or to be solid. I'll just put solid. The same thing in here. The banana is solid because of the support. Solid. And then this one, there's a last component right here. What is that?
What does that last word say?
What's my bad writing? Come on.
Let's say Lima.
It says Lima. Yes, it does.
Hand.
And
Hand. Very good.
oh, hana is work.
Work or do or work. I like that. I'll put work. What does this say? Can somebody just tell me what it says?
Look with your eyes, listen with your ear,
Don't talk.
shut your mouth, and
Shut your mouth and
work with your hand.
work with your hand. That is a Hawaiian epistemological theory right there. This is how the kids work. They're going to sit there, they're going to watch. This is not Hawaiian epistemology going on right here. I want you guys to talk, right? but they're gonna, you many times, especially in hula, Elle might say, you just watch. You don't ask questions. You might watch, you listen to what they say, shut your mouth. It isn't time for questions when we start. Questions will come after, and then you do it. And why? So this is one olelo no iao. If I ever bubble something, that means I expect you guys to know it, like those. Why do we do it this way? Because of one more thing. I'm going to probably do it in red. Because of this. What does this say? Can you read that okay? I'm trying to make it a little thicker. What does that say?
Hurry.
Gosh, is my writing really that bad, huh?
Makahana kaike?
Makahana kaike. Translation, please, or just give me some of the words. Asa, I haven't heard you talk too much. Give me a couple of these words, Asa.
Hana, work.
Work. Gotcha. Any other words?
Kaike is like knowledge.
This is knowledge. This is the. That's the. I expect everybody to grab that one. That's the freebie. Knowledge. And this is the. And this word is in. Look with your eyes. Listen with your ears. Shut your mouth. Work with your hands. Because
In the work, there's knowledge.
in the work, there's knowledge. Not in the talk story. Not in the read the book. In work. In work, there's knowledge. What do we say in English for this? What is this one in English? How do we say that? There's a common phrase.
Hands
Work
on.
hard, play hard.
Oh, wow, that was like several answers. What were they again? One more time. What were they? Come on, I got 3 answers. I just need...
Hands-on learning.
Hands-on learning is one. What's that? What did somebody else say?
By doing, we learn.
Yeah, learn by doing. That's the way. That's very common. Hands-on learning, on-the-job training. So this isn't something we're foreign to, but this is a whole nother. Yeah, they separate it. I put them together because it's in working that we learn. But in order to learn, we're going to look, listen, no talk too much, and then use your hands. Because it's in using your hands is where you're going to find that knowledge. So a lot of our reading that we had was about going outside and getting out there and experiencing the thing. We'll talk about this past reading next class because we're down to a couple of minutes. Really quick right here. I'll try to do this in a couple of minutes. Right here, wait, I'm going to get it. It's going to show me Mr. Nainoa. I remember on the first day of class, you wrote something. It was cool that we had this meeting because you learned everybody was nearby. Everybody lived here in Hawaii. Because usually you have classes and you have problems. And why would that be?
The verbiage or...
Yeah, the verbiage. Because why? What's the problem with the verbiage?
No relevance. I can't use landmarks in Hawaii or use...
Why can't you?
Experiences. They won't relate to it.
Who's they?
They usually have students from the mainland or different countries that...
They're at the tip of the iceberg.
They might be, because they're from where?
The mainland.
Okay, Lydia, you had mentioned that they were at the tip. Is that you who said that, tip of the iceberg, Lydia?
Yes.
Wow, that was exactly, because you said, didn't think of these things, and then you use this word also. The one thing I want to, once again, emphasize is right here.
Where you are is the mainland.
If over there is the mainland, what is this? What does this become? This becomes the minor, and it's not. It is the mainland for many people. I respect that. But if we call the people here that's the mainland, completely eats up that monocircle. Completely. I can't say, if I say mainland is there, I can't say that. I can't say that. Our words matter. I'm not saying I'm not trying to be politically correct, but we need to be consistent with our words. Another consistent point is this word. What does hard mean?
Difficult.
Difficult. Well, it means impenetrable, solid. You can't get through it. If you tell your kids or believe yourself that something is hard, it means it's maybe not possible. If you ask any of my students at any class that I teach, this word, whenever they say it, if I just look at them, they will say this word. What's different? What's different with that word from that word?
There's possibilities with challenging.
This is a wall. This is a mountain. You just have to keep pushing it. You'll make it. There's nothing that prevents you. It's challenging. So it's these little things about what we say. It's the little things about in our language that will make small paradigm shifts in our kids. This is a big one, actually. It's a big one, okay? We're 2 minutes over. I super appreciate everybody. Thanks, Elle, for coming today. I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you made it not on your phone. We will discuss our previous reading, and everything's uploaded. I will post all these notes of the things we discussed today, or the best I can. There's some stuff we passed up on, but I'll cover it next week. I'm looking at my notes. Okay, any questions?
Monday of next week.
Oh, shoot, this is that. Yes. Thanks for mentioning that. It's so much more effective. It'll be Monday at, what time did we want? 7 again?
7.
That's good.
So
Wait,
the Super Bowl.
That's the 5th.
Yes, that's the 5th, Monday.
Okay.
Because all Sunday, according to Lydia, it's an all-day thing. According to I know who brought it up, it's relevant. It's in your face, and you can't get past it. It's the Super Bowl. Okay, guys. I appreciate your time and your mana'o tonight, and we'll talk soon.
Bye. Thank you.
I say
Thank you.
Bye.